A St. Louis lawmaker is demanding that Missouri regulators investigate what she called an egregious exploitation of social cannabis equity licenses following a report that we actually covered here on High and 9 News, The Independent, last week about a company that recruited out-of-state license applicants on Craigslist. You remember this, Rico? That's right. State Senator Carla May, a St. Louis Democrat, sent a letter on Thursday to the state's Division of Cannabis Regulation and Missouri Attorney General's Andrew Bailey demanding action. Voter approved the micro-businesses program last November as a provision in the constitutional amendment that legalized adult use cannabis, and May wrote that the program was intended to rectify past injustices of marijuana criminalization. In a quote, she says, "I condemn these actions as an affront to the principles that guided the Citizens Initiative," May stated. "These people of Missouri spoke loud and clear in their support for a fair, inclusive cannabis industry that addresses historical disparities. It is disheartening to see the bad actors attempt to exploit the system for personal gain, undermining the very opportunities we sought to create." May's letter was sent hours after The Independent published a story revealing that the Michigan real estate group Canna Zoned MLS offered to pay eligible people to enter lotteries awarding social equity licenses in Illinois and Missouri. But two applicants told The Independent that they didn't realize the company's contracts forced them to relinquish all control and profits of the business, according to an agreement they said they signed. On October 2nd, the state issued 48 licenses excuse me, to the winners of the lottery that determined who gets to participate in Missouri's micro-business program. Of the 16 dispensary licenses awarded, the Michigan group obtained 2 of them, one in Columbia and another in Arnold. The scheme orchestrated by these applicants potentially involved fraudulent activities, May said, gaming the system to secure licenses through the exploitation of legacy advantages that the ballot language aimed to mitigate. Jeffrey Yadatuma, the designated contact on licenses associated with the Michigan group, told The Independent last week that the group rejects any allegations that we have defrauded the state. Any final agreements with partners in Missouri, he said, will absolutely comply with the state's laws and regulations, they say. In response to May's letter, Mr. Yadatuma told The Independent he stands by his previous statements, basically that the Division of Cannabis Regulation Director Amy Moore responded in May in a letter Friday morning. Moore said the division shares the senator's desire that the program be implemented exactly as designed and that no unscrupulous actors be allowed to subvert the law. In fact, the law itself anticipated the need to investigate whether micro-business licenses were awarded to eligible applications post-licensure, she said, and we currently are conducting that mandated verification process. Moore said the division's post-licensure verification for the 48 license winners will be completed in early December, followed by a public report of the results. If we determine that an application was false or misleading in any way, the license issued based on that application may be revoked, Moore said. The division has broad authority to conduct investigations, and under a new rule that went into effect July 30th, the department now has the power to issue subpoenas directly to licensed marijuana businesses and third parties during an investigation to obtain records and information. Applicants and licensees must cooperate in any investigation conducted by the department, the rules state. And in her letter, Moore said that if the division uncovers activity that, if of concern but outside our jurisdiction, we will refer that information to the proper authority. Basically, they're saying that they're going to snitch on you. The Attorney General's office, which also received the letter, did not respond to a request for comment after reading the Independent's article. State Representative Ashley Bland Monolov, a Kansas City Democrat, called the actions predatory and criminal. And she says, I encourage all states involved to revoke any licenses issued and reissue them to actual residents who qualify, she said. I'd like to see criminal charges for the lawyers who created the contracts and whoever created the Craigslist post for fraud. Jack Cardelletti, spokesman of the Missouri Cannabis Trade Organization, said it's up to the division's verification process to make sure the laws and rules were followed. And Article 14 of the Missouri Constitution entrusts the agency to run its voter-approved program effectively, he said, and we hope they live up to that. Well. What do you think about all this Missouri going on? And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think about this? You're on mute, Rico. You're on mute. You're on mute. There you go. No, you're still muted, bro. What are you doing? I can't hear you.
Hey.
There we go. Now I hear
Hey.
you. There you go. Now we hear you. It's about time, Rico. There we go.
Sounds like a lot of misery to me.
Well,
yeah, this is an extension of my story last week when they were finessing applicants, equity applicants in on Craigslist. And glad to see they actually got a lawsuit going against them.
Would you call it finessing, or isn't it more like finessed because it's already done? Just saying.
Well, they're still doing it. They're doing it in other states too. it was what, Michigan, Maryland?
No. I thought it was just Illinois and Missouri. I thought.
I mean, I don't mean to sound like a sick bastard, but I like my social equity finessed in any state I'm in.
Oh, I bet you do.
A lot of this just seems like, man, can we just let these people do business, right? Like, it's just amazing the amount of hoops and bullshit that people are still having to go through. Just a little weird.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, this is capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
There's American style capitalism, and there's always going to be some assholes trying to screw over the people who are the most vulnerable. And this guy Yakatuma, whatever his name is, man, like he should be banned from the business. He should be banned from the industry. But good luck doing that on state-to-state basis. We don't have any continuity going on here. I could see him getting shut down in Missouri and just continuing to do what he does in more emerging markets. There's no uniformity in the laws, and there's always loopholes too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to close up all these loopholes, and you're gonna have scammers just like this dude, and these companies continuing to do what they do.
Without a doubt.
America.
Scammers. Lots of scammers going on. Lots and lots of scammers. Man, this story, I mean, do you really think that they're going to be able to prosecute these guys with this? You hear what the one lady said? We want these guys to
They'll get a slap on the wrist. They might get a fine.
I don't think they're even going to get
you know
that.
what?
I don't think they're even going to get that. I bet you they get I bet you they get the licenses. I bet you they get the licenses.
They already got the licenses.
They're going to come back. They're going to come back and say, "Oh, in our investigative process, we have determined that there was no fraud committed in this," and they're going to get the licenses. I bet you.
They already got them. He got like I think it was like he got 4.
Well, they're in the review
in Missouri
process,
and 2 in Illinois.
2. They got 2 in Missouri. 2.
So I do have one practical sort of like thing that.
Hold on. You and practicality go along together. Is this what's going on? You're telling me now?
It's really revolutionary, right? Like for a long time, if you were going to enter into certain contracts and agreements, it was a requirement of that contract or agreement that you actually had it reviewed by an attorney. Like if a man and woman want to have a premarital agreement, there's a requirement that both of those people with their bodies, both those people have it reviewed by an attorney before they sign it.
Sound like
and
R. Kelly.
If they sign it without reviewing it, having an attorney review it, like it's not binding on the person who didn't have an attorney review it with them, right? And so like those are things that have been around for decades outside of cannabis. So one of the things that comes up for me is like, we got this thing around these people who sign these contracts and they say they don't understand what they meant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe it's sour grapes. Maybe they were lazy. Maybe they didn't even read it. Maybe they didn't even take the time to highlight the parts they didn't understand and say, what does that mean? I don't know.
Maybe they hired a fake lawyer.
Yeah.
But so I do think it makes sense. Well, I don't like the fake lawyers. I like my lawyers genuine. I always check the label.
Well, they got all these. They got these fake unions,
like Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani. those some quality lawyers right there.
Rip off the side of their hair dye. It's like a thing for me. I'm a little superficial. I like my lawyers that are a little more presentable. But I do think that when people enter into contracts, it's not a bad thing if it's a pretty important contract to require that both sides actually have a lawyer review it before it's binding on either party. It would save a lot of like downstream litigation and, oh, I didn't understand what that meant, or, oh, I was taken advantage of. Maybe you were, but if you
Right.
if you're required to have a lawyer review it on your behalf, I think it could save a lot of headache and heartache.
But Yaro, do you expect these people that are signing up to have the proper legal documentation or representation if they're signing up on Craigslist?
Well,
They're
so
signing up. They're selling an ad
I
on
think the
Craigslist
idea
with a
I
company
think they
saying that they're
yes,
going to pay
look,
them $2,000 for filling out the application, and if they get the actual license, they're going to receive $20,000. You think they're going to read the fine print? No. They're
so
they're they're looking for casual encounters and for free
so
pickup on whatever they want on Craigslist, and they
so
just
look,
happen to stumble across social equity licensing.
Look, so I think that ideas without resources is a terrible approach to policy. And so it's not uncommon for these programs to have a budget for social equity people to have that reviewed. You
Right.
can build that into your program so that people aren't under resourced when it comes to understanding complicated legalese or a 36-page document. In terms of what people are looking for on Craigslist, uh, I can't help with that. I like to live a racy lifestyle, but the truth is, I've never met anybody under a bridge just yet.
Hey, rest in peace,
So
rest in peace, Backpage.
recipes backstage. I do think the recipe for social equity applicants not getting taken advantage of does include a mandatory review by an attorney, and there should be funding built into those programs so that people who are under resourced can still get the quality of counsel before they sign something, because a dollar spent on legal on the front end is $10 saved in litigation on the back end. And so lawyers are like cops, right? Nobody appreciates them until you need them. It's better to use them on the front side to avoid problems than it is to call them in later to unravel or fix or solve or, put out the fire that those problems, those avoidable problems created.
Agreed. You got yeah. Think of a lawyer overseeing your contract. It doesn't. It's not that expensive to get your documentation reviewed on the front end, and just consider that an insurance policy
Well,
of sorts
not to
before
mention
you
with like
enter these
things
agreements.
like Chat GPT now too, Rico.
Well,
Things
and
like
it
that
just
even.
bothers me because this idea that I signed something that I didn't know what it meant and I was therefore taken advantage of, it, while that is common, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it's a lazy ass approach to adulting for anybody, whether they're sophisticated or not, whether they're experienced or not, whether they were outgunned or not. Like, read your shit, okay? Like, the number of people who don't even pick up a pen and read the contracts that they're going to sign, like, you don't create intergenerational wealth by skipping through the fine print.
Tell him.
And it's very hard to create generational wealth through cannabis anyway.
Did you say?
Anyway,
Did you say
Real
so
estate,
intergenerational?
like real estate for that
there's two
price.
there's two sides of this shit, and I try not to talk too much about the other side, but I think it's very, very important that I do. If you're eligible and you see that somebody's gonna pay you, 2 racks just to sign some paperwork, and then if you get the license, it's 20,000 as well on top of that. That's $22,000 that you didn't have before. And yes, the license will be more worth more. Yes, it'll be a lot of heartache and pain down those next couple of years of you trying to get up and running. But I mean, is it a good deal to take that 22,000, just drop the license and let them have it?
I'm never against people taking paper or chips off the table. I don't think everything has to be a home run. You get a couple base hits, that pays for some orthodontics bills and then some. I just think that the thing here is that when people sign paperwork, they should understand not what they're taking out of a deal, but what they're inheriting, what obligations, what
Yep.
liabilities. Do they have tax liability to the business? Is the business going to borrow money? Are there personal guarantees involved? Everything looks shiny from afar, but typically there's a reason why contracts are best executed with counsel side by side to say, what does this mean? What's the downside of this agreement? That's why people, when they get older, they become more financially conservative, because life typically has kicked them in the nuts a few times, right? And so being like not just looking at what could go right, but looking at what could go wrong is absolutely the lens of experience.
Right. No, this is true. It's risk management through and through.
Yes.
Jason, are you getting finessed over there?
No.